All right, everybody, just a quick review of yesterday's taxonomy with plants. If we take all the plants, we can group them into two major groups. Non-vascular, which we call the mosses. There's liverworts and others, but the mosses are the ones that we see most often. I like to call them short green carpet. They're really small, and that's because they're non-vascular. So why are they considered non-vascular? They really do not have true roots, stems, and leaves that have vascular tissue. So what that means is they do not have a special tissue that helps transport water and minerals and sugars throughout the plant. On this side with vascular tissue and vascular plants, they do have true roots, stems, and leaves, flowers, or even cones. So the reproductive organs are either flowers or cones typically. So that brings us to, well, who are these vascular plants? They're either the seedless ones that are still primitive but advanced enough to have vascular tissue, and those are the ferns. We have gymnosperms, which are a little bit more advanced but still kind of primitive. They have needle-like evergreen leaves. They have cones for the reproductive structures, and then they have seeds, but they're called naked seeds because they're not enclosed in a fruit. The majority of plants on this earth are angiosperms, which we call the anthophytes. They're the flower and fruit makers. And as you remember earlier in the semester, you guys had to find a dry fruit and a fleshy fruit on a scavenger hunt. And the dry fruits can be everything from different types of hard seeds, acorns, helicopters, even a dandelion, the little white puffy thing that you blow to make a wish. Each of those is a fruit. Then we have the fleshy fruits, and the fleshy fruits range from any type that has a seed or multiple seeds in them. And they may not feel exactly soft on the outside just because they're not ripened yet. But you know, the reason they have these is to help them distribute their seeds in nature. So if I'm a juicy berry and my seed is inside, then the adaptation is that a deer or a bird or another animal would eat that fruit, and they would deposit and plant the seed in their poop. So that's just some of the different types of plants that we have. But what I want to do very quickly is distinguish a little bit more with some of the parts of a leaf and some of the key things you need to know for your exam. So here we go. So down here, let's go ahead in the notes, any new notes today, is we're going to take leaves. And we know that a leaf has different veins, and it has different types of cells that do different jobs. So they have different specialized cells, just like animals do. Okay, so what we're going to do is actually draw a leaf, and this will be the top. And this top little shiny covering that helps the leaf to retain water is a waxy cuticle. Then beneath that layer is an epidermis. An epidermis is just another word for skin on top, and so it's just like your epidermis. It has an epidermis too. Beneath that layer, we have these cells that have all the same cell organelles and parts as eukaryotic cells, because plants we know are eukaryotic, but they have a ton of chloroplast in them. So the top part of the leaf has a lot of chloroplast in their cells, and that's mainly because the sun exposure. So this is actually called mesophyll. So meso meaning middle, and it has more chloroplast. Now, taking this class in AP or in college, you would learn that there's parenchyma and there's different types of spongy mesophyll cells, but you do not need to know that. You just need to know that on the top of the leaf, beneath the epidermis, there are cells that contain lots of chloroplast, and those cells are there so they can capture the sun's energy for photosynthesis. Next, let's draw a vein. Okay, so here's a vein, and so just like the veins that you're looking for in the leaves for your leaf project, they run throughout the leaf, and they, just like in your body, they have vascular tissue. So let's pause for a second and go over here. And what is vascular tissue? So I'm over here in this little section. We know it's either xylem or phloem. Okay, xylem carries water, their cells, and minerals, which means the roots of a plant have a ton of this in them, because that's where we get most of the water and minerals come from, those organs for the plant. Okay, and then phloem carries glucose, sugars. So that would mean that these leaves have a lot of phloem, simply because that's the major photosynthetic organ of most plants. So these are the vascular tissues. The epidermis is actually considered a type of tissue just because it's a skin protective layer. Okay, so inside of this leaf, we've got, y'all are probably getting dizzy watching me try to hold this paper down, all these cells, and inside this vein is xylem and phloem. So no matter if they run parallel or if they're branched in a leaf, they have that, just like your veins do. So xylem and phloem is analogous to the blood in your circulatory system. Okay, now what's really cool is, we've got some other cells that are in here. These are more of those different mesophyll cells and the spongy parenchyma. But we're going to go and draw the epidermis of the bottom of the leaf. And so just like, your skin or your hand, there's skin on top and there's skin on the bottom. And so this is true for a leaf. What's really cool is they have several little holes. And these holes are called stoma. And it's not stroma like the part of a chloroplast, the part where we do not find the chlorophyll, but it's called a stoma or a stomate. So these little holes are like your nostrils. So they allow for gas exchange, CO2 going in and oxygen going out. It also regulates water loss or water retention. So that's where water escapes a leaf during transpiration. So they're going to be regulated by these two little cool cells that look like Pac-Man or commas or maybe a parentheses, and that is their guard cells. So guard cells are going to be there to help regulate. This is a good example of cell specialization and differentiation. All cells may start off to look a lot alike, but as genes cut on, they differentiate into different jobs. And that's what's happened with the evolution of plants. We have less specialization, and we have the evolution of plants that are more complex. They have longer staying power in many ways. So this is it. I'll see you tomorrow.